All right, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here at DAC again to cover what is an evolving topic in the cloud. And what you'll notice is that the name of the presentation doesn't match what you saw on the sign, and that's because we did a little bit of an announcement this morning that's exciting for us, and we'll talk a little bit about that today, and even have some participation from a few of our new partners. So let me kick it off with just a little bit of context. This is something that you're going to see from Cadence going forward, and as a company, we're embracing a new way of thinking about what we do. And the new mantra for us is intelligent system design. It refers to the use of our core competencies in a way that not only services our core business, which is where we have design excellence for IC and electronic design, but extends that a little bit into the system space and then ultimately into what we're calling pervasive intelligence. The reason I start with this, not only is it the corporate direction, but you'll notice at the very bottom there's a graphic here that refers to the cloud. And in fact, everything about what we're doing is going to be cloud enabled, and we're going to do that in partnership with key parts of the ecosystem. So let me frame this a little bit in terms of DAC. So this is my DAC to DAC update. Last year at DAC, we made a fairly significant announcement about the cloud. In fact, we launched our cloud portfolio. We did this in a collaboration with the three largest cloud providers in the world, and we were excited to have AWS, Microsoft, and Google be part of our overall solution. We had some great customer attribution at that point, and we also had some of our industry partners who participated in that announcement. So that's what we did about a year ago. In October, those of you who follow TSMC would remember that at their OIP event, their Open Integration Platform event, they talked and introduced a whole new category of partnerships, and those partnerships revolved around the cloud. TSMC announced that Cadence would be a storefront for what they call the virtual design environment, and a virtual design environment is an approved and secure way for our mutual customers to use the TSMC IP in the cloud. So to achieve that, we had to convince and show TSMC that a Cadence managed cloud environment was indeed secure enough for what is their most valuable intellectual property, the PDKs and the design rule decks. So that got us to October. Overall, I frame this as you want to get the gains and avoid the pains. Well, when we think about the old paradigm of on-prem compute, it's easy to identify a lot of the pains. These are common things, and we've talked about them extensively this year. I won't go into detail. So these pains were going to be solved by the cloud, because the cloud then gives you these additional benefits. Unlimited capacity, you could switch your spending from what was capital to operational expense that's a little bit more flexible. You could avoid resource contentions amongst teams. You could take advantage of parallelized software and ultimately have, with the proper security, a good experience on the cloud. Now that is true, but what we've found over the last year is that those gains now have some pains. And so it's an evolving thing where you think something's easier than it is, and then you get there and find out there's a few more problems. So what we've focused on this year is how do we address the next level of pain. Conceptually, the idea is the vast majority of our customers have large investments in data centers. The cloud comes along, and while there are elements of it that sound great on paper, there's some practical limitations that make it not always the easiest thing to immediately pick up and adopt. Some of the things are obviously consistent when you're doing electronic design in the cloud, whether you're doing it in your own farm or whether you're doing it in the cloud. You still need an expert CAD team. You need to be able to manage flows, often multi-vendor flows. Your IT has to be sophisticated. But when you contrast that with what's happening in the cloud, your IT group doesn't necessarily have all of the cloud expertise. You'll find that the idea when you own a data center it's all about utilization and depreciation, right? You have to have a financial return on that investment. When you're using the cloud, you can change that focus to be a little bit more about the throughput that you can get, and then you can manage the cost as an operating expense. So all of these things come into play when you're trying to think about how to go to the cloud. The challenge, though, then becomes, well, how does a company that's got this massive investment in a data center ever make efficient use of the cloud, given that there are some barriers to do that? And what we tried to do earlier this year is solve this problem. And what we know the answer is, and this is a term that's certainly bandied about in the cloud domain a lot, and that's a hybrid cloud is what we're mostly looking for here. How do I use what I've got and complement it with something that's more flexible? So using on-prem and public cloud together. This sounds great, but the challenge and the key to this is how can you manage the orchestration of that? When you've got jobs to run and design projects that are sometimes geographically located, how do you manage integrating that in a public cloud environment? And what we ended up thinking about is a graph like this, which is conceptual, obviously. You've got a certain amount of compute that you need to finish a project over a given amount of time, and when we talk about the cloud, it just seems like, well, sure, just use the cloud for it all, and then your capacity matches your graph and everything is fine. The reality is that while that might result in a great tape-out date, most of us who have facilities, including Cadence, we have private capacity that doesn't exactly match our use profile, and it creates these discontinuities where the thing that generally suffers is the tape-out timeline. If you don't have the compute when your engineers need it, you're going to experience a delay. But what we want to do is bring a hybrid model together so that you get the best of both worlds, still manage your on-prem capacity in a way that it's highly utilized and fully depreciated, and then complement that with the hybrid model. And the solution for that is this Cloudburst platform. So unlike a traditional approach where you sort of make a choice whether you're going to design the project in your own data center or whether you're going to do the whole thing in the cloud, Cloudburst is the way to do most of your project on-prem, find the solution or area where you want to take advantage of additional capacity. This Cloudburst environment which Cadence delivers is available with the tools installed and a job scheduler that's integrated into the environment, and an engineer can be up and using it within a day or so of actually acquiring this from Cadence. And it has to meet all the same security standards to be useful. Data transfer is a big issue. Once you are not fully locating your design project in one location, you are going to be moving data back and forth. So we integrated into this an internally developed file transfer system that can handle very, very large files. We've had customers that at one point in the project were uploading 2 terabytes a file at a time, a few times a week. And if you try to do that without the right solution, you'll burn your whole week just getting the data uploaded. So that's what fills in this gap in the April timeframe. So on April 1st, we announced that Cloudburst platform, and we're pleased with the interest that we're seeing. We're happy to have pilot engagements with customers who want to actually experience this, and it's very straightforward. Just last month, Samsung Foundry announced that the Cadence Managed Cloud is supported with their IP. So at this point, if any of their customers want to use a Cadence Managed solution, we can host that in one of our offerings, and the IP is considered secure and available. So that leads us to DAC 2019, and I'm going to have to drum roll this a little bit, so it's not going to come out right away, so bring the phones up later. But this is our portfolio slide. This is the one you see us talk about a lot. The world is divided into 2 categories for us. Customers want to manage their own environment, or customers who want Cadence help in some fashion. If they want Cadence help, we can do that via Palladium Cloud, which is an emulation solution. And we can do that with two different software platforms. I just described the Cloudburst platform, which is good for these hybrid environments. We have a long history of actually doing complete design projects in the cloud, and initially it was a Cadence managed data center. A few years ago, we ported this to AWS and to Azure, and we've done many tape outs on the public cloud through this model. And so that's a cloud-hosted design solution. So depending on what the need is, we can either do the whole project or just parts of the project. And then, of course, the Cloud Passport is our offering for customers who want to manage their own environment. And it's in the Cloud Passport side that I want to tell you a little bit about what we've announced. To do that, I need to sort of illustrate a problem that we're going to solve with the program that we initiated. I want you to think about this same separation of Cadence managed, customer managed, and then when a customer manages something, they can manage it on the cloud or they can have it in their own on-prem data center. And the tool users are the same. You know, these are the designers. There's not different designers for the cloud versus not. The tool administrators, so you can think of these as the CAD owners and the CAD experts. You know, they're on the left-hand side of this chart are going to continue to manage that. When you're beginning to use a Cadence managed solution, Cadence is often picking up some of the CAD responsibilities. So if they're doing a full project in the cloud, we have people that can help with PDKs. We help with the tool installation, and all of those things can be done by Cadence. The next level is, what about the infrastructure? And today, a customer's IT team will manage that, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud. If it's Cadence managed, Cadence is taking care of that particular function. And then at the very lowest level is the infrastructure itself. And that can either be a customer data center, it could be the cloud, or in some cases it's a Cadence managed facility. So, you know, Cadence will host the Palladium cloud environment. We also host some customers who want to use cloud hosted in a Cadence facility as opposed to in the public cloud. And then this Passport model, which isn't hardware, it's really it's a solution through which customers can take our software and move it into the cloud, fits right in that little space. And this is how we envisioned the world coming together and how our portfolio was going to solve a lot of these problems. But something interesting happens as we go out and talk to a lot of customers about what side of this chart would you like to live on. Many want to try something on a Cadence managed side, and others want to do this all themselves. But we run into three big problems. The first is often expertise. So an IT group may be very good at managing their own environment, but they may not know how to use a particular cloud environment, what the security setup is. They may not know how to deploy and provision network and compute in that environment. So expertise can be lacking. If you're not familiar with the cloud security, I think at a high level you should be confident that it's very secure. I mean, all these financial institutions, you've got drug discovery happening in the cloud. The most valuable IP is already in there, so it's not that it's not possible to have it be secure, but you do have to know what you're doing. If you can have the greatest security in the world, but if you don't use it, you may be vulnerable. And sometimes a customer doesn't know exactly which vendor they want to use. Maybe they want to use multiple vendors. And if you go out and develop expertise one vendor at a time, it may delay the deployment. The other thing that can be lacking is resources. This may not be financial, but it may be bandwidth of IT employees to go figure this out. They are generally fully consumed with projects that are already underway, and you ask them to go now set up a cloud environment, and that can maybe not be possible. And there's always a difference between a full-scale deployment and a pilot. And then the last thing that gets in the way of having this transition from being on-prem to in the cloud is complexity. What we observe is that EDA flows are very complex. I don't think there's two that are identical. That's why CAD groups exist, to optimize and tune flows and tools to what makes the most sense for their environment and for their users. And that customization isn't just at the flow level, it happens all the way down to the IT level. And that gets in the way. And one thing that certainly occurs is getting the permission to put third-party IP into the cloud is something that's relatively new. Most of the contracts that have been signed over the years didn't have the cloud in mind when those terms were written. And so that's something that certainly has to be addressed. And specifically to the tool side of things, sometimes a competitor of Cadence doesn't want Cadence managing an environment with the customer, with the competing parties' tools in there. So all of those things contribute to some of this challenge. So what we're going to do, and what we've announced this morning actually with the press release, is we're introducing a Passport Partners program. It's going to fit right here in this space next to the customer's IT team. It can either be an augment to the IT purpose, or it can replace it if it's on a project level. And we're pleased that we were able to work with companies who are capable of making your transition from your own environment to the cloud successful and easier. And that's what we announced this morning. And we've got 5 partners that are inaugural members of this. Those are listed here at the bottom. Nimbus Services, Rescale, and Scala Computing are all working on the commercial side with us and are available to help any of our traditional customers. We've got Europractice and CMC Microsystems on the academic and research side. What's interesting about this is some of the challenges that you experience on the commercial side are analogous to challenges that are faced by universities and research institutions, but at a different level of scale and complexity. And we're fortunate to have 4 of these partners here today. Scala is not here, so I'll just tell you a little bit about what they're doing. So they have a business that's focused on bringing HPC to the cloud. They have had success and traction with Cadence customers putting together collaboration environments with them. And so we invite you to go track them down and hear from them directly what they're doing. But let me just take a few minutes and invite each of the other 4 partners to come up on stage with me and talk a little bit about what they're doing. So first, let me welcome Rich Pa from Rescale. He's the semiconductor industry principal from them. So Rich, welcome.
Thanks, Craig.
Good. So Rich, for those who don't know, what does Rescale do and what's your focus?
So Rescale, we've been in business since 2011, mostly helping HPC customers get onto the cloud, right? So right now we're focused on bringing semiconductor workloads up into the cloud, and we're happy to partner
so
with Cadence.
You've had a lot of success in many domains. Can you give an example or two of where you're seeing a lot of traction already?
So in the past, we've seen a lot of traction with aerospace companies. We've got actually a company that we speak about, Boom, who's building the next supersonic jet, and they do all of their simulations on the Rescale platform in the cloud.
Mm-hmm. Good. And semiconductor, obviously that's part of your title here. So what do you bring to the semiconductor portion of the vertical market?
I've been in semiconductors for the last 20 plus years, working for both customers and vendors. What I bring to the table is expertise in what we do, the uniqueness of EDA, what our workloads do that other workloads don't. Mm-hmm. We have, like you said, a lot of complexity, a lot of custom orchestration issues that other domains don't have, right?
And we've talked obviously about the benefits of this program, but what are some of the things that Rescale sees as important in a partnership like this that we're now forming?
So what we see, we're very excited about this. So we see as this partnership allows us to jointly bring to customers a easy path to the cloud that includes security tools from Cadence and other partners, and basically a way for customers to make use of the cloud without having to put in a lot of engineering time.
Mm-hmm. So you specialize in helping this happen really, really quickly.
Yes, we specialize in basically a turnkey solution that gets them up and running in the cloud with security, with software, and everything in place.
Right. Well, we're excited to have Rescale part of the program. If anyone in the audience wants to know more, what should they do, or how can they track you down?
For Rescale, it's easy. We've got a booth right down there in Infrastructure Alley. Come by and talk to us, and we'll be happy to talk to you about what we're doing and our partnership with Cadence.
Great. All right. Thank you, Rich. Let's give Rich a hand, huh?
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, let me next bring up Ken Merkel from Nimbus Services. He is responsible for microelectronics within Nimbus. Ken, welcome to DAC and welcome to the Cadence Passport Partners Program.
Thanks, Craig. We got the ink dry on Friday, and Nimbus is very excited to be joining with Cadence and being able to announce at DAC our ability to serve in this environment. We've been around since 2008, initially starting as a high-performance computing organization. I won't go into all the details. I'm an old defense IC, I gotta just say a war doggy. And so along with the Trusted Foundry and Trusted Access Program Office, what was emerging in the early to mid-2000s was how do we have collaborative design environments with provenance. And the DoD was fairly quick to jump on that with AFRL funding. So on one side we got Trusted Foundry coming along, on the other we have high performance computing, collaborative design capabilities, and now we're bringing up to the next level with the ability to do full cloud design with a partner such as Cadence.
Yeah, and we've had excellent traction. We've been working together for a while with the customer that you mentioned, AFRL, the Air Force Research Lab, who's given some presentations here at DAC and will participate on a panel with us tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So with AFRL, they had some unique requirements that Nimbus helped them solve through the cloud. Can you talk a little bit about the collaboration that you enabled with your solution?
Well, first, some of the environments that aren't necessarily fully taken up in a commercial environment are the defense level cybersecurity. So we're always looking out at the end state of where something might have to go through a classified program, but on the way developing up, you have to ramp that up. You can't start there and try to work back. You'll get all tripped over, so to speak. So we are very much looking for Cadence to work with us in our full open and commercial design space. So normally you got to go in through AFRL or OSD, get approval to go in some of these environments. We have a cloud service called TSS.org, TrustedSiliconStratus.org, and we are looking at Cadence to expand upon that possibility. Across our 3 different cloud platforms, we have, this last month, 750 users. We're moving 100 to 200 terabytes monthly and adding about 100 users per month. We actually need help with Cadence in the design environment to keep this going for focused design.
Yeah, we're really excited about it, and one of the unique things that many of the non-defense oriented or aerospace oriented companies don't have to deal with is some of these additional security levels, and Nimbus has an ITAR approved environment. It's built on, part of it's built on the AWS GovCloud, so there's layers of capability that you've put into the solution. I think it's worked well, and we expect to see it expand. So Ken, if someone wants to know more about Nimbus, how can they get a hold of you, or what's the best way?
I'll actually be in the Cadence Cloud Partners booth tomorrow from 2 to 4 and on Wednesday to 2 to 4. And I'd be absolutely glad to talk to you, and I'm new to the cloud, and I'll take any information you guys can give me and integrate me to this community. Very much appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Ken.
Thanks.
All right, so those are 2 of our commercial partners. I want to shift gears a little bit, and let's talk a little bit about the unique requirements and needs of the university program. So Owain Johnson comes from I'm Johnson, comes from CMC Microsystems. Welcome.
Thanks, Greg.
Owain, tell the folks a little bit about CMC and kind of your long history in supporting academic and research environments.
Yeah, so CMC Microsystems, we've been around since 1984, and we're funded by the Canadian federal government to help with micro nanotechnology excellence in the academic world, in the research areas at Canadian universities. And so we've been partners, or maybe not official partners, but we've worked strongly with Cadence over maybe more than 20 years, because Cadence plays a very important role in all domains of people who want to take an idea and design a chip and actually fabricate it somewhere.
Yeah. And so you mentioned Canada, but do you serve more than Canada, and do you anticipate serving more than Canada with your participation in the Passport Partner Program?
Yeah, absolutely. And so
Yeah.
that's what this Passport Partner Program is a great opportunity for us. So we're serving institutions in the United States as well. And this partnership program allows us to make sure that we can both benefit from the things we know, and CMC, we can leverage what we've done in the Canadian market and bring what we've learned over the years with Cadence to the US market as well for academics.
And we've done this already in some pilots, and while we're not mentioning the names, it's allowed us to see that the model works and that the capabilities certainly are there for CMC to scale this beyond what they're currently doing in Canada. Anything that you want this audience to take away about CMC, and how can they learn more?
Well, we will be presenting, a bit about what we've talked about right now, and a bit more tomorrow at the Cadence Theater at 11:30. And we will also be in the Cadence Cloud booth on Wednesday from 10 till 12. Okay. So definitely, if you want to know more about anything, there's actually going to be, there's 4 of us here from CMC, so we'll be happy to talk with anybody.
Good. Thank you, Owain.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, and finally, let me introduce Dr. John McLean from Europractice. His company works closely with Cadence and serves the European community. And so, John, welcome, and tell the audience a little bit about who Europractice is. That's not a name that many might be familiar with in a DAC audience.
Yes, thanks, Greg. So Europractice,
A little bit closer, I think.
Europractice is an EC-funded project. It's been running since 1989, and we provide design tools and routes to fabrication for European universities and research institutes. We currently have about 600 customers across Europe, and nearly 400 are big users of Cadence design tools for research and training.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a little bit of a unique thing with regard to supporting that many universities and that many research institutions. I know many universities turn sort of tool responsibility over to graduate students, and sometimes those aren't the most consistent resources. They move on. So how does Europractice help address that with all of these all these universities that you help?
Yes, that's a major challenge. Universities are very different across Europe. Some have large infrastructures, some do not. And we try to provide easy to use access to Cadence tools. We've done that over the years with easy install kits, now doing it with virtual machines that we give out. But now we're looking forward to this exciting program to make available cloud access of Cadence tools, particularly for classroom training environments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're excited about this, and we have a long history of working together, John. You know, how many years has it been? You work closely with our academic network, Patrick Haskell, who's here, but...
Yes, so we have made available Cadence tools to universities for over 30 years now. Yeah. And we have about 380 universities who have Cadence tools. That's not professors, it's not departments, it's entire institutes. And it's very hard to name a university in Europe, Middle East, and Africa that doesn't have access to Cadence design tools. And it's the tool of choice for the IC fabrication, with nearly all of the GDS2 files coming off Cadence databases.
And how can someone learn a little bit more about Europractice, catch up with you later?
Well, our 4 fabrication partners have a booth, a Europractice booth, just over there. And Europractice.com is the web address of the main site. And I will leave some business cards with you.
Good. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I love listening to John speak. I get to listen to him read the phone book, and that would be interesting to me. Love the Scottish brogue. So what's the benefit to the customer, right? That you can see that it helps these partners sort of with their reach and ability to find other users. But for you, if you're a company that's looking to use the cloud, this could be a way to get your self-managed cloud into production much more quickly. You can work with them on customizing flows. They have various tools and capabilities that may support that. Some of these solutions include the ability to very seamlessly utilize multiple clouds very easily, not just one cloud provider at a time. And as you can see, there are specialty capabilities that maybe go beyond what any single organization is going to develop right out of the box. So we're excited about that and look forward to seeing that come together. So now you come back to our portfolio slide. We've added a little graphic now to show where these Passport partners fit on the left there. And you can learn more about them at the Cadence website on the cloud, as well as their individual websites, and they've each explained a little bit about how you can catch up with them here at DAC. So all of that is fantastic. We're excited about it. So just kind of in conclusion, I wanted to talk about how to go about maybe refining and developing a cloud strategy. For us, having talked to a lot of customers, these tend to be the 4 things that you should do. The first is clarify the priorities. Think about what you're trying to achieve by moving to the cloud, and there's a lot of possibilities. Sometimes it's a combination of these, but it's healthy to have some internal discussion to get alignment. We find that sometimes the first conversation ends up leading to a longer need for discovery internally than really with Cadence. The second thing that we suggest is figure out what use model makes sense for you. Decide how you're going to use it. If it's function specific, is it this hybrid mode? That will give you some clarity in terms of figuring out the specific collaboration that you want to put in place. And for us, collaboration isn't just amongst the parts of the ecosystem that are listed, but today we've expanded that to include enablement partners to help this happen. So our interest is, let's have design move to the cloud. If Cadence can play a fundamental role in that, great. If you want to utilize services of a partner, that's fantastic as well. And finally, best thing to do is boil this down to a plan. We find that if you can narrow the scope to something that's achievable in a quarter or so, you can get traction and then figure out how to refine the elements on the left. Sometimes you don't know what your priorities are until you get a little bit more experience. So that's it. That's the Cadence Cloud. We're really pleased with the progress over the last year. We think that you'll have the fastest deployment experience with Cadence. We think it'll be painless as it can be. There's pains and gains. And our solutions are proven. So we've really enjoyed seeing the success of our customers taping out on the cloud, using our hybrid model, embracing the Palladium, and good interest in even the self-managed part of this. So if you've got other things that you want to learn about the Cadence Cloud, here's just a summary of the things that are still to come. We're going to have a nice panel tomorrow morning, I mentioned, and you'll get a chance to hear from TSMC, AFRL, QST. I'll be a part of that, and Dan Denny from SemiWiki is going to moderate that panel for us. We'll have a discussion about the real deployment issues that these users have experienced. Other opportunities to catch sessions in either the Cadence Theater or a partner theater. And finally, on Wednesday, we'll hear how ARM and Cadence are collaborating to do some IoT in the cloud work together. So covered a lot. I really appreciate the time and attention. If you want to know more about what we're doing, visit our booth. I'm happy to answer questions, and obviously our motivation is to make you successful. So thank you for your attention and time, and have a great DAC.